I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 100. Can you believe it? We're here. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, May 26th. And I'm here to tell you, first thing I want to say at episode 100, Texas State and UTSA is a rivalry. I know that was a hot topic on the Twitter streets this week. It is a rivalry. We've litigated this many times before throughout the years. It's nice that UTSA is trying to big brother the Bobcats now that they've had a little bit of success the last 2 seasons. But I would like to remind everyone that I have covered more football seasons than they have had football seasons. And I'm not that old of a man, so they need to not get a little too big for their britches. But just had to start out that way. Just had to start out. Lots on this episode. We've got Texas State University President Dr. Damphousse, Agent KDamp. I've been itching to get him on for about a year, ever since he jumped on board with the Bobcats. Can't wait to talk to him. He himself is a sicko. He's listened. He's DM'd me over the last few months some just even little segments, just almost letting me know that, hey, I'm listening to your pod. So I've been itching to get him on, and no better time for number 100. On the time where we introduce video as well. Some of you may be watching the video, the YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. You can check me out. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, just like you did for the audio version. We need your help with the video version as well. It's a little different for me looking at a camera and everything while I'm doing this, but it's feeling pretty good, you know. And if you check out the YouTube channel, you can see where the Win Now studio is. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I just called it now. But this is where I record my pod here. I'll even give you a little. There you go. Here's my office. This is where the magic happens. I already know Zach Webb's gonna hate that. Producer Zach Webb. He's like, man, you're moving the camera angle and everything, but gotta let you in just a little bit. But yeah, very excited about that. Excited for the merch store we released as well. WinNowOrGetBent.com, WNOGB.com. If you don't want to spell out all those words, I've even got a shirt going right now. Stand up a little bit for you. There you go. Win Now or Get Bent shirt. We've got lots of those. 2 different versions of the Win Now or Get Bent shirts. The long sleeve. We've got a unisex Win Now or Get Bent shirt as well. We've got some mugs. Lots of great stuff. We're going to add more to it as well. We want to, have more fun shirts, more any cool ideas that we get. We'll put it on there. We're going to continue to add merch to it. This one, it's the light push on the merch right now. There's just 4 items on it, but we're going to keep continuing to add. If you have ideas for a shirt, who knows? Maybe I'll even give you a little piece of the action if you send us a cool shirt idea. But yeah, it's opening up a lot of avenues. It's what Zach and I have been working on for the last few months. The store, getting sponsors in place, getting more equipment. As you can see, like I got the mic right here, looking into a new camera. It's been great. Big things happening at Win Now or Get Bent, and we've full steam ahead. Let's get it. I guess I should have opened it with talking about our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Austin Patchmasters. Austin.patchmaster.com. Any drywall repair you need, popcorn ceiling removal, crack ceiling, cracked walls. If you punched a hole in your wall after a drunk Bobcat loss, hit up my guys at Austin Patchmaster, servicing the whole Austin metro area. If you're in the Dallas, Houston area, it's a franchise, so they can give you a referral to someone there. But in this area, hit up my guys over there. Michael Clements runs that business there. He is a Texas State grad. He is a sicko. He listens. I can't thank him enough, and Austin Patchmasters for making this commitment to the podcast. It only continues to help us grow. So thank you very much. And again, 512-200-3888 to contact them. That's 512-200-3888. Austin.patchmasters.com. Patchmaster. Don't pluralize the master. Austin.patchmaster.com. There we go. All right. Thanks again to them. Lots of cool stuff coming this summer. We have other sponsors as well. I got a big one starting in July. I'll talk to them, see if I can give them a little hint, but we finalized that one this week. They're going to be from July all the way through the season. So you'll hear a lot about them coming up. Lots of great stuff coming. Now for the merch, there we go. The merch side of it, like I was talking about before. A lot of you reach out to me and say, how can I support? How can I help you grow? How can I do this? Obviously, the sponsors, that really helps us grow. If you don't have a business, you don't have the means to do that, just buying a shirt, buying a mug, buying whatever, that also helps us grow. That's a way that we can, it expands everything we can do. We can add more tools. There's a lot more we can do the bigger we get. So if you want to support, go get some of that gear on WNOGB.com. And even if you're just listening to this right now, subscribe to the pod on YouTube, on Apple Pods, on Spotify, whichever one you listen to. That also helps us supporting. So if you feel a certain way of like, I just can't afford to support, but I really want to support, you're giving us numbers and that helps us undoubtedly. So thanks to all the sickos out there. Big things coming. Big things are already here. If you watch the video, you get to see how the sausage is made. See my notes right there. A little extra stuff for you. Chicken scratch. I don't have good handwriting. I am a writer. I'm not a very legible writer, though. I never promised to be legible. But let's talk some cats. Let's talk some sports. It's enough. It's enough of all that. All the plugs. WNOGB.com. One last one for our merch store. Baseball, they are alive. Big win last night. Walk-off win. Dalen Pena kept the Bobcats in it. They are back tonight, 6:30 p.m. They are playing Louisiana. Great win last night. They came into the tournament as the 5th seed. They lost Louisiana to start it. That was a 4 straight loss to Louisiana. And I think I said on Monday, my good buddy John Beck said it's really hard to beat a team 4 times in a row. And Louisiana did that. And today he said, well, it's hard for them to beat 5 teams in a row, or beat a team 5 times in a row. Man, I was tongue-tied on that one. But so now they have a 5th one coming up. We'll see how the Bobcats do with that tonight. A good win tonight, even that win last night, that may sneak them into the NCAA tournament, even if they can't get the Sun Belt Championship. So could be really good. We'll talk a little football, some quick football, and then some questions. Got a mailbag going today for episode 100. I didn't promote it too much. I didn't want you guys to go crazy. Who is my guy? Runner CX. He had like 12 questions on the last one. So it's good. It's like about 5 or 6. So we can keep a good amount of room before we get to Kelly Damphousse. But football, 3 more commitments since the last time we spoke. The first one was safety Caleb Coleman out of West Virginia. Second one was corner Jalen Shelton, also out of West Virginia. And then kind of late last night was Alex Harkey from Colorado. That puts them at 49 for 2023 now. We talked about Coleman and Shelton on the last episode. I was like, I think they'll get one. Maybe they'll get both, but not likely. And boom, they got both. Got to stop underestimating G.J. Kinney and these guys because, boy, they could sell water to a drowning man. They could sell anything. Alex Harkey, though, I talked about him at one point when they first offered him. He's a really, really good offensive lineman, good tackle. Not really that interior lineman we've talked a lot about that they need, specifically center. But they have offered a lot of centers this week. This week alone, they offered 4 centers. So that tells me that they need at least one that they're looking at. I would imagine they need 2. They want to shore up some depth by getting a lot of those guys. But Alex Harkey, he's from Buda, right up the street at Hayes High School. Always good to get a local guy in there. Good to get him to come back. Started out at Tyler Junior College. 49 for 2023, and they're still going. Like I said, they offered 4 offensive linemen. I did write those down. Clayton Martin from Western Illinois, Will Lees from Saddleback, Tan Fioku out of San Mateo College, and Danny Valenzuela from Arizona State. So they're still trying to get guys in. And even when I look at the numbers, still think they could maybe use a receiver or two, but I don't know. They brought in 7. It just seems like this offense uses a lot of receivers. But I like the additions they brought in, specifically in the spring. The more I look at Joey Hobart, the more I really appreciate what he does. Sean Shaw's a big target, Bo Corrales, but we'll see what they end up doing there. For the DBs at corner, that's the 5th new corner for the Bobcats. We've talked a lot about Josh Eaton and John Blunt Jr. and some of these other guys, but now that's five corners alone. I mean, that's 2 starters, 2 backups, and a floater. For safeties, they have four new safeties when you include Caleb Coleman. That's if you include the 2 star players as well, which is like that nickel position. That's 11 just at DBs. So they have significantly changed up that one. That DBs is tied with offensive linemen for the most. Alex Harkey was the 11th there. So of the 49, it's 11 DBs, 11 offensive linemen, 10 defensive linemen, 7 receivers, 3 QBs, 2 tight ends, 3 linebackers, and 2 running backs. So pretty spread out across the board there. It's 7 high schoolers, 7 JUCO, and then 35 FBS, FCS transfers. I think one of the questions for the mailbag was talking about the difference between Spav and Kinney's transfers, how they're both very transfer heavy. And that number reminded me that I have a good answer for that question, because that right there, 35 FBS and FCS transfers, new ones. I should have made a note of how many of those are P5 and, broke that down, but I'll save that for the next episode. I feel like the last few episodes, all I've really done is break down the roster and the new guys. I can't help it. They just keep adding new guys. This is 16 transfers, just transfers in since spring started. It's incredible. I mean, and they're all scholarship guys. And every time one goes down, I make sure to confirm like this guy is a scholarship coming in. So it's impressive. This class is really, really something. This might be getting close to 50% new guys on the roster just from these transfers, maybe looking more like the 40% range, but this team is going to look completely different than it did last year. Oh, I guess I made a note about the star position. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that that nickel position for the Bobcats. When I look at recruiting, I keep speculating like maybe they're looking at this guy for star, maybe they're looking at that guy for star. It seems like what they're going to do is they're going to move some corners to that star position. Don't know exactly what that means, but we were just talking about how they added a bunch of corners. So I could absolutely see some of these new guys, maybe even some of the new 5 corners that I talked about, even moving to that star position there. So let me pull up these questions. Wherever it is, I misspelled lightning. Shout out to whoever called me out on that one. All right, I found it. Here we go. Mailbag questions. Thanks to all who submitted them. Hashtag WNOGB. Appreciate those who use the hashtag. Makes it easier to find, except for today, apparently. First one. My guy at Kenny Trill, Kennyville resident. Where is Arona? We all wanted him to make that kick, but that's life. Hope we can lift him up. That's a random one, but yeah, okay. Alan Arona, he was the kicker for the Bobcats. He missed that extra point against UTSA. Bobcats lose the game. We're all brokenhearted. Everyone's mad at Alan Arona. Although I've put out pictures before that have shown that those laces were in when he kicked it. So I don't know. Controversial. I don't know where Alan Arona is, but shout out to Alan. I know it's not easy. As upset as we are at the loss, can you imagine being him? That's got to be really hard. So I appreciate that from you, Kennyville. My guy, Kenny Trill. Good man right there. Oh, here we go. Here's the guy at Coach ATX. He's the one who created me, who corrected me on lightning. I misspelled it. Maroon and golden. Oh, maroon and gold. I thought that was the website at first. It's maroon and gold at TXST Light Beer. What's up, my guy? How many sickos do we have tuning into the podcast? It fluctuates. In for the off season, we'll get a good 500 downloads. Sometimes more, sometimes less. TJ Finley's story happens, it gets a lot more. It fluctuates. I want to get a lot more for coming up in this season. I want to stay consistently into the thousands of y'all. The true sickos hang around in the off season though, so that's why that when it goes out, there's a good 500 of you that are on it pretty quick, and then the other stragglers will come in after. So I appreciate y'all. I hope all those numbers will follow us to the YouTube page as well. That's another way. I mean, once we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and 4,000 views, 4,000 hours of views, we can start monetizing that as well. So it helps us grow. But all those sickos have helped us grow. So thank you to that. Thank you to Maroon and Gold as well, or at TXST Light Beer. That's what I should say. The fake Dom Coriel said, "Don't forget my question from a couple weeks ago." Here it is. A question for the next mailbag. It's a hot summer day, and little Kev has been outside raising all sorts of hell. I would never. Your mom calls you inside for lunch. After you finish your lunch, you get to pick one of these bad boys. What color are you picking? See, this is why you got to watch the YouTube, because I'm going to put the picture right there. You know those popsicles, right? Everybody knows those. Tell you what little Kev's going for. Right to purple. Right to purple. I'm not even thinking about it. Purple is my go-to. I just love it. That grape flavor, very refreshing with the sun. Tastes exactly like a grape. You ever notice that? The grape flavor, purple grape flavor, nothing like grapes. I love grapes, and I love grape juice. Two different flavors. Because what are they doing? They taking those little grapes and squeezing them? No way. No way. But yeah, definitely grape. I'd say second would be blue, and then red. Orange is good too, though. Don't keep the green and yellow. Keep green and yellow. I'm not about those. Good question though. Important question. Something that really needed to be addressed. So thank you for that. Fake Don Coriel. There's an extra in Dawn if you're trying to look out for the fakers. Oh, my guy, Atomic Punk at JTESPI87. What's up, Atomic Punk? Any idea if the coaching staff is finished with the portal? No, they're not. Goodness gracious, I can't keep up. Not complaining, though. You're telling me. I'm trying to get my hands around this class. 49 guys trying to keep up with it. It's been a doozy for sure. No, they're not done. They're going to get into the 50s. I don't know. I don't think they'll get to the 60s, but I think they'll probably start to settle around 52, 53. That's total. That number's total speculation. I've not heard that number. If I hear anything from them, it's fluid. Still trying to figure it out. You know, who's coming, who's going. So it's a bit of a process there, but no, they are not done. They're gonna keep it cooking. I imagine they have visitors this weekend. I haven't confirmed that, but I would imagine so. Good stuff, Atomic Punk. Thanks for always submitting questions. This one's from Zach Webb, producer Zach Webb. It's supposed to be for the people, Zach. You used to be one of the people. Now you're on the team now, man. Is it a thumb? Is a thumb a finger or its own thing? Here we go. This is almost split the podcast. We've had it's been a contentious debate. We almost had to dissolve the podcast because we were just so mad at each other over this. But we've settled our differences because we know the content is important for the people. But I'm gonna say that here. You can see my hand here. This is different than these. See how these are all together? And this guy is different, has a different function and everything. Fingers, thumb, they're all phalanges. There you go. Debate over. You don't have a microphone, Zach. Get to editing. You'll have to do some editing when I started the mailbag because I couldn't find the questions. So we're gonna test your skills out. That's a good debate. I like debating Zach. Zach is an interesting guy. He's a really smart guy. Thank you to Zach. Appreciate that. At WhackZeb on Twitter. Go follow my guy Zach. How many followers do you have? 76. Can we get him over 100? It's kind of embarrassing when my producer doesn't have 100 followers yet. Here we go. Mark Rodriguez next up. At Mark MARCRDZ725. What's up, Mark? Definitely seen you before. With all of the uniforms Texas State football has brought out over the last few years, which one has been your favorite? Oh, man, I really wish I had gone down memory lane before looking at that one. I'm going to answer it now, but I'm also going to answer it later when I go back and look through some more because I have an answer now and I'll go back and look through and see if it changes once I check out some. But when they did the throwback, the SWT, I just loved it. Loved the look, loved the socks, loved the SWT on the helmet. I just thought that was very cool. And anytime it comes back, I love it. And why I say I want to come back to it is because I like it once a year though. And so I want to, what's a uniform that I would want to see if they're like, okay, we can only wear one for the whole season. What would that uniform be for me? I'm going to go back and look through some pictures I have, some pictures that have been taken and give you a good answer on that one. Cause that's a good question. That's a good summer question. These are great summer questions. I need good summer questions when there's no games going on. This is the stuff we need to talk about. But yeah, I'm going to go with the SWT throwbacks for now, but I'm going to come back to that, Mark. Good question. Appreciate you, Mark. This one's from Matthew Gonzalez. What's up, Matthew? At Matthew G007. Any chance of getting more pods from former Bobcats, maybe during the summer? Yes. Very, very, very much in the works. Former Bobcats, current Bobcats, some of this coaching staff we haven't gotten to know. At the groundbreaking ceremony on Monday, which I need to talk about. After I answer questions, we'll talk about that before we get to Damphousse. But at that ceremony, I was able to see Coach McCoy, Coach Greg, the DB coaches, Coach Pat Key as well. I've had him on the pod before, but I definitely want to get Coach Greg and McCoy on here so we can get to know some of those guys. They're real interesting. It's a really young staff. I think when we talked to the DePrado during spring, he was saying Stutzman's the oldest, if I'm remembering that correctly, and he's like 43 or something. Like it's a very young staff. They're a fun staff. And they love to recruit. And I appreciate the hunger from them. We haven't seen a game yet from these guys, but I really appreciate the hunger. I guess I'm getting off on the tangent here, but yeah, absolutely. Some former Bobcats. I really want to get Bailiff on. Wanted to have him on before. But Zach and I, as we were talking through the spring, there was a lot of interviews that we were going to do in the spring that it's like, let's push these to the summer. Because right now we're talking recruiting, we're talking baseball, we're talking a whole bunch of other things. Summertime, it's going to get a little slower, and we don't want to slow down. We're gonna keep it cranking. So yeah, lots of former Bobcats. Appreciate that one, Matthew. This one's from Jason Castillo at JMStillo, JMSTILLO. Jason, before I get to yours, it's funny with my last name Chardello, people always think the L's are silent as well, like Castillo. They'll say Ciradeo or Chardeo. It's like, nah, the Italians, they pronounce the L's. Not the I, though, at the beginning. That's a CH. Make that make sense. All right, Jason, here we go, man. Appreciate the question. How is GJ's portal? That's the one I wanted. Okay, good. How is GJ's portal different than Spav's, and why does it seem like we are celebrating GJ's approach? Big names with big question marks. Absolutely fair question, especially that last part with the big names with big question marks. I think the one that stands out the most is TJ Finley. the guy they're bringing over from Auburn. He was a very polarizing individual amongst Auburn fans, but I've litigated this before. SEC versus Sun Belt is a different deal, so I don't think that'll be as big an issue. But why we are celebrating it more with GJ Kinney than we were with Jake Spavital. And I brought up that number, 35 of these 49 members for 2023, 35 are FBS or FCS transfers. 35. Spav didn't have a class at 35. So he definitely didn't have 35 transfers alone like that. So that number, those numbers alone, that even if 35, just a handful of them are starters, that's a ton of Division I depth that you just automatically put on your roster. Because we know injuries are going to happen. You're going to go through a lot of bodies through the season. And to shore it up with this much depth is incredible. And why we are celebrating it more, I was just talking about it through the spring, 16 in the spring alone, transfers. All of them are dudes, some real dudes. These receivers that they're bringing in, I've talked enough about them. The offensive lineman from Oklahoma, Marcus Alexander, Bray Walker. Those are two teammates, both from Oklahoma, big guys. Bray Walker's the guy who's 6'7", 355 pounds. They went and got Christian Rory from Duke. Come on down. Derek Browns coming over from UT to play defensive end, switching over from linebacker at UT to defensive end here. Sam Latham, another Incarnate Word guy that they just got. There's some real players that they're bringing in. Some guys where you look at their numbers and they're not just size wise, but you look at like their stats at their previous school, whether if it's like a small one, like I was just mentioning Latham, those numbers, he was incredible for Incarnate Word. And it's the quality of transfer that's coming in, why we're celebrating it more. Now, is this going to work? We'll see. We'll see if this is the right strategy. I think this is the transfer portal strategy on steroids. It's way more than Spav's version of it. He's going out and getting a lot more. And now a lot of that has to, and you'll hear it from Dr. Damphousse in the interview, where I asked him about like, well, how are they able to recruit so much more? Did you open up the budget or what happened? And he talked about opening up the budget specifically for the coaching pool, the staff, the players or the coaches around GJ Kinney, like how they're able to add David Bailiff, a special assistant to the coach, a position that really didn't exist until then. Because of that increased budget they're able to bring in these other coaches who are very focused on recruiting, and it's their go-to. And another difference between the Spav transfer portal era versus the Kinney transfer portal era is that what's today? What did I say? May 26th? And we're at 49 right now. Spav wasn't done until August, and it was a slow trickle all the way through. It would be his last year there, I was really, really mad because they did not have a press conference we're talking about Spavital here, his last year at Texas State. They did not have a press conference on the early signing day in December or the real signing day in February. I was furious. And they didn't have many players. I think they had 3 at the first one in December and like 12 by the one in February. And then by the time fall camp started in August, I think they were close to 30. They may have been a little over 30, but it took them all. It would be like every couple weeks. Oh, here's one more. It was a really slow burn. And with GJ, by the first signing day, he was in the teens. I remember that. By the second one, it was 33. So that's why when I'm talking about 16 more since spring, that's what I'm basing it off of. Is that on February, what was it? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, somewhere early February, they had 33 signed. That was more than Spav could get all the way through to August. And by the time Spav's doing it, besides like CJ Rogers, where he got CJ pretty late last summer, that was a pretty good one. A lot of the other ones didn't contribute. The ones that got brought in late, like Kawan Robinson, he's already gone. Like guys like that. It was just it's more quality and quantity. I mean, I was talking about Walker alone, former 5-star. You heard, if you listen to that episode, if you hadn't, go back and listen to it. Audio version, no video version of it. But he's talking all about how he wants to come down here and remind people that he's that 5-star. Like Derek Brown, I think he was a 4-star as well. Like there was highly recruited guys. TJ Finley that's a name that a lot of people nationally know. And now he's at Texas State, and and they know him nationally, maybe infamously or famously, whatever. But that's definitely a name that I knew before even Texas State was kicking the tires and considering bringing him in. So it's such a better. It is the same transfer portal strategy, yeah. And honestly, and on this pod during the Spav era, I criticized it. I criticized the transfer portal era because thinking about how it's going to add this transfer culture. Guys coming in, guys coming out. But you know what? That might just be college football. That's just the way it is these days now. And in taking advantage of there not being a cap on the scholarships, like the annual 25 allotment, you're allowed 25 scholarships a year. That's gone because of COVID. Just for this year, but they'll probably extend it because just with the transfer portal and everything, you can't really put that cap on it, 25 a year. You can put a total cap of 85, but that 25 cap is going to be pretty hard for teams to stay within. But with that, I mean, take advantage this year. You can bring in 50 scholarship guys because the rules allow it. So why not do it? So yeah, I think it is different. It's fair to bring up though, because that was one of the big criticisms of Spavital was that it was this transfer portal era. So great question, Jason. I really appreciated that. Looks like I lost my questions, but that's okay. I can find them real quick. We'll just talk. So we won't make Zach have to edit this part because I'll be able to find it way quicker than earlier. I say that I'm getting there. There it is. Boom. All right. Thank you again to Jason. Red Marks, Matthews, Logan. Here we go. Sorry, guys. That's terrible podcasting right there. My guy Logan. What's up, Logan? At Logan Beast 23. Checking Vegas odds. They have Texas State season win total under at 4. If you were a betting man, would you hammer the over? Yeah, I'll take that over. Take that over. If you have a chance, take that over. I'm not even going to waffle on 4. If it was like 5 or 6, I'd think 4. They're going to get, yeah, they'll get over 4. It's a tough schedule, no doubt, but we've talked about all the players that they've infused this team with. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun season for this team. I really do. So yeah, hammer that 4. That's an easy one. Miguel at Mike 1755. What's up, Miguel? I've definitely seen you ask some questions before. And Logan, appreciate you, Logan. I didn't give you a further shout out, but my guy Miguel here with the question. If TJ gets the job at quarterback, TJ Finley, does that change the offensive plan a bit? How is he in comparison to Hornsby when he needs to run? I don't think it'll change the offense. They seem pretty set on their scheme. GJ and Mac have their offensive scheme that they Mac Leftwich, offensive coordinator, that they seem to really be about it. It's an effective system. I mean, it's run, short pass, run, deep pass. If you remember Art Briles at Baylor, it's a lot like that offense. It's very fast paced. And I think no matter who they put in at QB is going to run that. That being said, it would it would be the same scheme, but it would look different with each quarterback because they are two different quarterbacks. Hornsby, world-class speed. He can beat anybody on the defense. TJ Finley, not a runner. He's 6'7", listed at 250. Seems like he may be more like 230, lost a little bit of weight. He's not the fastest guy, but if you watch his highlights, he's actually really shifty in the pocket. Has a good awareness for when like a defensive end or a blitzing back is coming at him, and he can just move around and move his feet. I like the way he moves his feet for a big guy, shuffles those feet and gets away from those defenders. But as far as like taking off and running with the ball, definitely not his game. He's got a big arm though, a real big arm. And that's the enticing part about TJ Finley. Definitely not the running game. But I think that they are very into this RPO offense, or maybe even some designed runs for their quarterbacks just to keep the defense honest. So I think he would still have to run some, but not as much as if Malik were to have the job. If Malik had the job, I think the frequency of him actually taking off and running with the ball would be significantly higher than TJ Finley. Finley is more about being in the pocket, looking downfield, looking for that next receiver. Malik, almost if it is a weakness for him, is he'll look at one receiver, and if that receiver's not open, he'll take off. That's the big issue with Malik Hornsby. So yeah, two different guys. I still think TJ is going to take it, but it's very much a fall camp competition. You know, they're going to let him hash it out. No one's got it. Could still be CJ Rogers, who I really liked in the spring. Or PJ Hatter, you know, the high schooler. I think he's probably going to get the red shirt though. But I am very, very excited to see this quarterback competition in the fall. I'm excited to just hear what it's like over the summer. What's it like for these guys? Can imagine there has to be some sort of tensions, at least between Malik and TJ, but hopefully they're able to put those differences aside and do what's right for the Bobcats. But I appreciate that one, Miguel. Great question, Miguel. Great questions all around. These ones are solid. The only weak one was from Zach Webb. It's a thumb. All right. This looks like the last one. If I missed yours, please contact me on Twitter and I'll save it for the next one, as the fake Don Coryell did. This one's from Malik Hornsby, Heisman Trophy winner. Oh man, this guy can't catch a break. I think it was Lane Train before, and then he changed it to Hornsby Train. Don't change it to Finley Train. It might be a jinx in there, or do it, you know, or maybe go with I don't know. You do your thing. I was going to say you could do like a Kinney account, but I think there's already one. Is there one? Maybe I'm putting bad ideas out there in the Twitter sphere. Okay, here we go. This one's from @Hornsby Train. It's even got, looks like Thomas the Train, Thomas the Engine. I can't remember what he's called this, with Malik Hornsby's face on it. So I love it. It's a shirt idea. How is the offensive line looking now with the transfers? Also, this defense looks maybe one of the best we've ever had. What's your projections for a fall defensive depth chart right now? The defense has the highest rated recruits Texas State has ever seen. There you go. Answering that last little bit answered the question about why are we celebrating it more with GJ than we are Spav. Right there. That last little, this defense has the highest rated recruits Texas State has ever seen. Yeah. How's the offensive line looking? Better, much better. I haven't on paper, because I keep in mind I saw him in spring where it was way less guys. There wasn't Alexander, there wasn't Walker, there wasn't Chase Todd, who's the offensive lineman from Houston. Can't forget him as well. He's potentially going to get in there at center without Alex Harkey. I think Harkey's a starter. I think he's those four additions alone have got me pretty excited. I think 3 of those 4 could be starting. They on paper significantly better. The one knock is center. They still haven't really found a true center, but like I said, they offered 4 of them. I hope 2 of them come down. Hey, heck, if all 4 want to come, I don't know what the scholarship allotment's looking like, but need some centers. From what I saw in the spring, definitely need some centers. The defense looks like one of the best we've ever had. Hadn't played a game yet, so it's hard for me to agree with that yet. I do love it because, like we said, those ratings, it's the highest they've had defensively for Texas State. So that is very exciting. A full depth chart. Let me put a pin on that for the next episode, just because I don't want to go too long on this one. I want to leave enough time so everybody listens to Kelly Damphousse, because I feel like what he says is very important, and I really want you to hear it. But Hornsby train, I will remember that. I'll give you maybe I'll do offense and defensive depth chart, because I'm curious myself. It's changed since the last time we did the depth chart prediction in the spring, before the spring game. Way different. So yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from everybody. I appreciate all the questions. From Miguel, Logan, Malik Hornsby, Heisman Trophy winner, Mark Rodriguez, Jason Castillo, Matthew Gonzalez, Zach Webb, Atomic Punk, Donnie C, Maroon and Gold, Kennyville resident, Kenny Trill. Shout out to Kenny Trill. Thanks, man. And our guy, Coach ATX. Thanks for all the questions on that one. Let's get to Kelly Damphousse. I want to say something before we get there. I was truly honored that he was willing to come on my podcast. It's great to have the university president understand the importance of sports, that we're not just a bunch of meatheads rooting for a ball to fly through the air, that this matters. It's pride in this university. It's what everybody sees in this university. I interviewed him on Zoom, and I'm cheap, so I had the 40-minute limit. So it ends not too abruptly, but pretty abruptly. And I could tell he still wanted to talk. He still wanted to pop off, and I had a lot more questions I wanted to ask him. So I definitely want to bring him on. He's a great talker, a wealth of information too. You give him a question and he gets it going. But just what he's done in his time here, and it's in almost a year, has been pretty incredible. Just how he's galvanized this place, him along with GJ Kinney and Don Coryell. It hasn't resulted in wins on the field yet, but that's, we haven't gotten there yet. So I think that's where it's really all going to pay dividends. And it's nice to talk with somebody that when he talks about how much he cares about this place, how much he cares about everything that's going on, I truly believe him. I've been observing him for the past year, and I couldn't be more impressed. I could be more impressed with wins on the football field. That's where I'll be more impressed. But everything else off it, on paper, it's been fantastic. And a big thank you to Dr. Kelly Damphousse for coming on here for the 100th episode. But again, this episode was sponsored by Austin Patchmaster. Austin.patchmaster.com. Any kind of drywall repair, holes in your walls after a drunken Bobcat loss, popcorn removal, cracks, anything, they got you. Hit my guys up over there at 512-200-3888. It's 512-200-3888 at austin.patchmaster.com. Thanks again to them. And thanks to you sickos. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, comment on YouTube and on Apple and Spotify and all that good stuff. Again, the merch store, WNOGB.com, winnowergetbent.com. And it's gonna be more than a merch store. I don't want to reveal too many plans. I don't want to throw too much at y'all at once. We want to trickle the new additions in slowly and surely so that everybody gets a hold of them. But there's more we want to do with that website as well. More designs for sure. But again, the YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. All right, that's enough plugs. Too many plugs today, but it's the 100th episode. I'm excited, and we've got a lot to plug. Thank you for tuning in. I tell these sickos this before, but I truly mean it. This podcast is nothing without you. It truly warms my heart. How the response to it, how many people listen to it, how many people say, man, you're a part of my day. I was just talking to a potential sponsor the other day, and they're like, you're like a sitcom character in my life that on Twitter or whatever, I see you pop up all the time. So it's funny to talk to you on the phone. I thought that was fun. But I really appreciate y'all. It's a shared passion for these Bobcats and a pride in this place that we all understand how special it is. And it just, if curated right, it can really take off, and a lot of other people will see how special it is too. But for now, it's ours. It's our little treasure, our little hidden gem. We'll eventually share it with everybody. But that'll do it, everyone. Dr. Kelly Damp is coming up next. Thanks again for tuning in. Win now or get bent. All right. I am joined by a very special guest for episode 100. It is the president of Texas State University, Dr. Kelly Damphousse. Sir, it's an honor. Thank you for joining me.
Jeff, thanks for inviting me. I'm honored to be part of your 100th broadcast. Congratulations on that. I'll bet when you started, you never thought you'd get to 100.
I was hopeful. I really wanted to. I have a rational confidence, so I was pretty sure I'd at least get close if I attempted.
Good for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You've been here for coming up on a year, almost. What is it, June? I think it'll officially be a year.
July 1 is my anniversary date.
There you go. And you have done a lot in your short time here. You have, we just saw the groundbreaking ceremony for the new football performance center. Why is sports so high on your list? We're here at Texas State. We didn't get a whole lot of that before. And now we see you coming in, and it seems like it's a real passion project for you. What is it about that you find so important?
Well, I think first off, I'm just a sports fan. I grew up in Canada. I was a big hockey fan, played a lot of hockey, watched a lot of hockey, and watched a lot of CFL football growing up. And I love watching athletics. So I know what it's like to be a fan. I know what it's like to be passionate about a group. I'll tell you a quick story. My grandmother gave me a diary once when I was a kid, and she was a great diarist. And she said, every day, write down the most important thing you can think of. And so you can look back later and see what you were thinking about. And I still have that diary, and every entry was Montreal Canadiens won 3-1. Guy Lafleur scored a goal. To me, when I was 14 years old, that's all that mattered to me. So I've just grown up being a sports fan. But then when I, went to graduate school at A&M, and I saw what college football and even a little bit of college basketball did there, and going to some baseball games there, and kind of seeing the atmosphere and seeing how people kind of rallied around that, kind of whetted my appetite for college sports. And then going to University of Oklahoma and actually having been on faculty at UAB, where they just started like a club football team the year I got there. And then they were trying to start a football program. They had basketball. It didn't have football at the time. Then being at Sam Houston on faculty, my undergraduate alma mater, being on faculty there for a while. And football wasn't a big deal there. But going to Oklahoma, being part of a big time athletics program. And first, when I got there, their team was not very good. It was a John Blake era, and they were really struggling. And I saw what happened on the campus where they were just like depressed, and people were not happy, and the morale was low of everybody, even the people who weren't fans. Just everything just felt dark. And then we hired Bob Stoops. He came in. I never heard of the guy before, and he came in on the first day we hired him. He said, no excuses. And I've just never forgot that. I said, man, I love this guy already. And then 2 years later, wins the national championship. And I saw how that university just responded to that. I saw how number of applications went through the roof. I saw what happened at Alabama when Nick Saban went there. And I just know that a thriving football program and a thriving basketball program, a thriving baseball program, thriving athletics programs overall can have a huge impact on a university. And as I'm trying to build this university, not just athletically, but academically, and our research portfolio and our national, recognition and prestige, athletics has to be part of that. And to be honest, football has to be a big part of that. A couple of years ago, when COVID hit, I remember Oklahoma was struggling. Like, do we put the football team out there? And I remember the softball coach, Patty Gasso, saying, we need football to be playing because football funds softball. And I think it's really good that she recognized how important football is reputation-wise. And, as an outsider looking at Texas State through the past several years, being a member of the Sun Belt Conference when I was at Arkansas State, I always wondered, like, why isn't Texas State better? It ought to be better. And so when I got here, I thought, man, we got to do everything we can to like turn this thing around because it's so important. And so it's certainly the front window to the university, especially football is, but it's also the rearview mirror for the university. Alumni coming back to games and for homecoming and the pride they take in the university when the football team's not performing well, when any of the athletics teams aren't performing well. Those are the high level recognition places. When those things aren't doing well, that has a dampening effect on the value you see in the university. So it's a matter of all ships rising, excellence in all things, excellence in academics, excellence in student experience, but also excellence in athletics as well.
Yeah, a rising tide raises all ships, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
And the morale, I think that's the biggest thing that I'm with you on is when you talk about the morale of a winning program, because some people can look at it as an arbitrary thing, like, oh, you guys are upset because you're not winning games, and it's more than that. It's the pride in your university, and it is what everybody sees, and sometimes it's right on the tips of people's tongue. Is like, oh, I know about Texas State. They're not good at football, especially in Texas. That's the one thing they know about it. And it's a shame because they see that and then it closes the rest of the window. So I'm glad it has been a passion project for you. That has been something I have enjoyed seeing over the last year. I know you mentioned the academic side as well, because when you got brought on, I saw somewhere you were talking about wanting it to be, you had two missions. You wanted to fix football and make this university an R1 university. Now, obviously, that goes a long way for like federal grants and research. But how does sports, do the two things coincide? Does a good team help you get to that R1 recognition, or talk to me a little bit just about getting the school to R1 and if those two things do correlate?
Yeah, they do, there is, everything's related, all part of systems. And if one part of the system isn't functioning well, it affects everything. And so, we base a lot of things on reputation. And if people don't think much of a university for whatever reason, either because of the alumni who they're meeting, or because of the tons of students who are going there, or because of the success or lack of success of the football team, that reflects poorly on everything. And that's why we have to be good at everything. And so I wouldn't say having a great football team will make us more likely to become an R1 institution, because they are relatively independent. But the reason you become an R1 institution and you change the kind of university you are is because you want to be seen in a different peer group. You want to have an elevated national reputation. And there are only about 145 R1 institutions in the country. And if I asked you to name 25 universities in the country that you thought were really good, they'd be in that list of 145, just off the top of your head. And we want to be in that categorization. Now, many of those schools that are in the top category, the top classification, don't have great football teams, but they have a long history, 200-year history of academics where they can draw on. And they've got lots of faculty members who are National Academy members and so on. So we can certainly build to that academically, but we can also build to our reputation very quickly with athletics. And that's why those things are tied together as far as your reputation goes. I do think that when you build some excitement on your campus, when the students are excited about going to a football game on Saturday, and we'll talk mostly about football, but we talk about all the other sports as well. But that tells a faculty member that you're trying to recruit to come here that there's something exciting going here. The students love being part of it. We have this culture of attending games and so on. People want to be part of a winner. Let's just be honest. And if you're not winning in football, if you're not winning in basketball, if you're not winning in research, if you're not winning in recruiting students and faculty, then people are less likely to want to join you, or it becomes more expensive to bring them in. And so, again, let's go back to your analogy of all ships rising. That's what we're looking at here, is we can build on our reputation on the thing that's most easily visible to people, which is athletics. Then that makes us a more attractive place. And by the way, it makes it more attractive to our alumni and to our potential donors who are coming here. We've been blessed at at Texas State with a large number of people who are helping us financially with private donations. But two of our largest donors are our alumni, the Ingram family and the McCoy family. And I'm not sure why that is. There's probably a number of reasons why that is, but we want to get more of our alumni involved in fundraising. and we already have. You saw, the groundbreaking we just did. There's 3 families that are intimately tied to our university through being former students, and because of that, we're able to do something really special in the football stadium. Well, we need more of that throughout the whole enterprise here. And I think as people take on more pride in the university because of what they see what's happening on the football field or on the basketball court and the baseball field and so on, that there will be more pride and more willingness to invest back in the university. And I always try to remind our alumni and our donors that every time you give back to the university that you graduated from, you're actually investing in yourself, because you're increasing the value of your degree. Now, when people think about Texas State and think about the prestige that's associated with it because of success in the field or success of the graduates and so on, it adds to the value of your degree.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an investment, in this university, in this place. Yeah, you were talking about it, that obviously football is the big bad sport that everyone is going to pay attention to, that all eyes are on it all the time. And there was just the groundbreaking for that football performance center. That was something when GJ Kinney was hired, you talked about wanting to expedite that $37 million renovation, and you were able to accomplish that by starting this groundbreaking and everything. Why was that so important? Why is it important to upgrade that facility, specifically adding to the weight room and the hydrotherapy additions and so many great things that are going into that? What does that do competitively with other Sunbelt teams and for the team immediate needs?
I gotta say, I underestimated Coach Kinney because I didn't know that he would be so successful in recruiting right out of the gate. And it's not because our stadium isn't good. Our stadium is fantastic, but what the student athletes touch, isn't as good as what they're seeing at other places. And when we were in the middle of interviewing him, we actually interviewed him in the football stadium in my suite, and we're looking down on the field. I said, "We got a great stadium here," but we looked around at the facilities. We're a little lacking. For example, we don't have an indoor facility, which really is a burr under my saddle, and something that's another high priority for me to bring a indoor facility in. But I had just gone through a project at my previous institution where we built, we call the North End Zone project. And it was new seating. We put some water features in there as well, kind of an homage to the state. But we built a new locker room and a new weight room there. And that just elevated the ability to recruit students here. And in the past 2 years, that coaching staff's had the #1 recruiting class in the Sun Belt for high school seniors. And so I know that coach is a great coach. I'm very close to him. I'm proud of what he's doing, but I know the facilities had a huge part to play in that. When you bring student athletes in and they see what you got for them to work out and to help them get to the next level, when they see those facilities, that weighs heavily on their mind about what they're going to do that. Now, other things that weigh heavily on their mind is the number of people coming to the games and how excited the student section is. And so we got to work on that as well, getting more people in the stands. I do know that winning games makes a difference, but also creating a game day environment is really important. But I told Coach that we would accelerate as quickly as possible the amenities for our student athletes so that it would make it easier for him to recruit. Now, it turns out, I think he could recruit if we just had like an old barn out back with a couple of cement pails with dirt in them to work out. And he's an incredibly gifted recruiter and done such a great job in a short timeline. I can't wait to see what he does in the coming year. But I can't help but think that when recruits come here next year and they see holes in the ground and structure going up, and they can actually see what the weight room is going to look like and what the hydrotherapy is going to look like and so on. And then what it'll be like the next year when we actually have it in place, how much stronger a case he'll be able to make to when he's taken back Texas. He'll be able to say, find a place in Texas that is a better thing than we have here. It's going to be really hard to find that. And so that gives him one more leg up as he's doing his recruiting.
So you were part of the waterfall thing at Arkansas
in the
State.
Waterfall. We call that Mahajer Falls. So Terry Mahajer was the athletics director.
Yeah.
When I went there on my first day, he took me out there and he said, "I've got a dream for doing this here." And he said, "We're actually going to put waterfalls here in the end zone." I said, "Well, this guy's kind of crazy," but it turned out to be it's one of the most beautiful stadiums, Sunbelt for sure. And the locker room and the weight room facility is, until we get ours done, rivals anything you see. Even some of those Autonomy 5 schools don't have the kind of facilities that Arkansas State has, and that's what we want to have here. We want to have the kind of facilities that can propel our team forward. And by the way, we call it the Football Performance Center, but there'll be other student athletes that will be using that performance center as well, because we'll have an incredible weight room there and hydrotherapy for the other sports that are also excelling here. So it's, again, going back to all ships rising here, it's not just football, it's all of our sports would be improved by having a better workout facility here. And that goes along with having an indoor facility. People call it indoor football practice facility, but when your baseball team, when it's cold and rainy, they can go in there and practice. The band can practice in there. ROTC can use the facilities. Students can do intramurals in there. There's a lot of stuff that can happen there. All of your soccer can practice in there, softball. A lot of those field sports, track. I'm running out of sports here, but that facility will be a multi-use facility once we get that thing lined out as well.
Great. I cannot wait to see that going. You mentioned that GJ Kinney you underestimated him a little bit as far as recruiting. I think I did as well. I did not anticipate anything close to what's been happening. How much have you changed the recruiting budget? Did you come in and take a look at what was happening before and say we need to increase this, or has it all really just been more so just Kinney and the prospect of potential that he's been selling to the recruits?
Well, I think there's a couple things going on. Is that you don't need a really big recruiting budget if you're recruiting Texas. And so you don't need to travel quite as much. You don't need to travel to Florida, or you don't need to travel to California. So you can travel around here. Kids will come to you. And I think that he is able to sell a couple things. First, it's him and his experience. Second, it's his game plan. People talk about his offense a lot, but UAW had a great defense as well. Lots of tackles for loss, for example, so he can recruit both sides of the ball. We did increase the assistant pool, so we're able to get some really good assistants to come in here to help with recruiting as well. And so while we could have increased his salary, we actually put a lot of bonuses into his salary so he can make a lot more money when he's successful. He can earn a greater salary, but we put more money into the assistant pool so he can recruit the assistants that he wanted here. And then I think he does a really good job of selling the university as a whole. And I give him a lot of credit for this. I always make myself available to all of our coaches for recruiting. If you need me to come in here and meet with a recruit, I meet with basketball, softball, soccer, everybody who asks me. I never turn down an opportunity to meet with students and their parents. And he's invited me, and I know Don's been there as well as Lot. I spent a lot of time recruiting the parents and talking about what this university is all about. And we want to make sure that your young person who comes here is successful on the field or on the court or on the pitch. But we're also concerned about what happens to them after they graduate from Texas State. We want to make sure that they have the opportunity to pursue whatever career they want. They may want to go pro in their sport, but once that's done, we want them to be prepared for life after Texas State. And so I think when you look around this campus, looking out my window, it's one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen, having the Spring Lake and the river running through it, and the kind of academic programming we have here. Again, as we develop more of our research profile, I think we'll attract more and more students who are interested in the degree offerings we're offering here, in addition to the academic opportunities here as well. And so it becomes a whole package to recruit students here. And then you got to think about, elephant in the room about how we structure NIL deals. And so, the legislature is looking at new, ways of handling NIL in Texas. We have to be able to compete in that front as well, because students are coming to us and saying, here's an NIL deal I'm getting here. What, how would that work here? They want to know what the NIL deal is here. And so that's something Don's working really hard on with his team about how can we, again, create an entire package: academics, athletics, NIL, marketing of the person, and then ultimately, what recruits students here the best is success. If you can recruit students to a successful program because they want to come here, compete for championships on a regular basis, that makes recruiting even easier. Coach Kinney didn't have that luxury. Can't really recruit to the success we've had here. He can recruit to his own success, his own persona, and the atmosphere and the culture he's creating. But I think when he's more successful, when we'll get more fans in the stands, that creates incredible atmosphere. That student athletes feed off that, and it becomes a kind of a cycle. He has more success on the field. It helps him become more able to recruit even better student athletes to come here. And coupling that with the new facilities that we'll have in time within just 18 months or so, I think that we're at the beginning of a real renaissance in football at Texas State. But again, athletics as a whole across the entire campus.
Yeah, and you when you talk about GJ Kinney and the whole process of even bringing him in when it went to searching for a new coach, and you almost took a flyer out on a young guy. He had a really successful season in Incarnate Word, but it was just 1 year there, and he's come in and it seems like he's exceeded a lot of expectations, not just in recruiting, but really just with how he handles this program in general. Are you more impressed with where you thought he would be at this moment than when you first brought him in? Did you think he would kind of galvanize this fan base in such a way? Because I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn with this, but it feels like donations have gone up. I mean, we saw the $1 million one from Tyler Sibley the other day. We know the football performance center is going to be named after the Wiseman family. It just feels like it's invigorated this area a little bit. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, and so you asked if I'm surprised by what he's done. I have to say yes, but I will tell you, we interviewed several coaches by Zoom, and then we invited a couple people to come in for in-person interviews. And I wasn't 10 minutes into the interview with him in person when I thought, this is the guy right here. I mean, it was just so impressive because he just had such a cool calmness about himself and a confidence about himself. And here's just an example that I think is really interesting and telling about him is, he was approached with the idea of bringing David Bailiff back to help. And there's a lot of coaches that would say, I don't know if I like the idea of bringing back a former head coach to be on staff here. But he embraced that. He said that, I think David can really help with a lot of stuff around here. And I will tell you, I got a lot more congratulations and good jobs and attaboys by hiring David Bailiff than I did probably any hire I've ever made in my career. But it was such a win. But it took a lot of courage, I think, by Coach Kinney to say, yeah, I'd love to have that guy come back and be part of this program. And I understand and appreciate the success. They actually had a history from before. And because Coach Kinney is just not intimidated by anybody. And I watched, after we hired him, he still was coaching for a while. So I spent most of the game when I was watching UIW play, I was watching him all the time. Like, how was he on the sideline and so on? And he's not a go crazy, screaming and yelling, jumping up and down kind of guy, like super calm and super composed. And it's almost like he's an old soul. And so when we hired him, I felt really good about where we were, but I had no idea about how good he was going to be. And we talked a little bit at the groundbreaking a couple of days ago. He's still recruiting. He's not done. He's still got some slots open. I every time I think we're done, he says, "No, I got a couple more guys I'm looking at here," and he keeps bringing in guys that I thought, I can't believe it. And there's some sense, I think, in the past that you couldn't bring in people like that to this school, and I think he's broken that opinion about the kinds of people who will come here, and he just started. I mean, what's this going to be like when he? I say when he's successful, not if he's successful. I just know he is, speaking into existence, if you will. But I just think that he has done everything right so far, and he's like the whole package. And so I'm just super excited about that, to join all the other coaches we have that are also operating on a high level here. It's like the missing link here. And I can't wait for football season to get here to see it kind of all happen, because right now it's all hoping and wishing and thinking and dreaming. But at some point it's going to happen. They're going to kick that ball off, and we'll see what really happens. But I believe we'll have an exciting brand of football that'll bring people out to watch it. I hope that people will come up to support the team, because again, it's not just the ticket sales, but it's also just the atmosphere that gets created. When we have a recruiting day and bring a bunch of high school seniors onto our onto our field on game day, it's great to have that stadium full so it can help us. The fans can help us recruit students just by being there. Student section was really good last year for the first 4 games. They fell off the last couple of games, but we got another record freshman class coming in. So I'm counting on having 15,000 students there, the freshman and the sophomore coming back. Get them kind of excited. Keep telling them they got six Saturdays a year to make memories that last a lifetime. Just give us 6 Saturdays. Come out here and make a difference. And I think they will.
I like that. I'm glad you brought up the record-setting class, because that's big. That's really big for this university. And bringing David Bailiff back was a big move. I mean, people have been wanting him back since 2005 or 6. I mean, that's when he left. So
I wish I could take credit for it. It was Don Coryell's idea. He said, hey,
good for Don.
Think about this. I said, I just met him. We had like a Hall of Fame banquet in the fall, like December, and I met him then. I said, who's that guy with all the players hanging around with? They said, well, that's David Bailiff. So I went over and introduced myself to him. And so Don had the idea of bringing him back, and it worked out. It's worked out great. And by the way, he is such a nice and kind and lovable and friendly guy and super connected. You can't beat him. And, it's great to have a lot of our former coaches still hanging around. You got Ty Harrington. I think that guy's a rock star. He's actually, doing color for our baseball, and he hangs out. He actually traveled up and watched the softball team play the other day. And to be able to kind of like bend his ear and have him still be connected. And Karen Chisholm, having her around all the time. She never misses a game, and having those folks still be around here, be part of our athletics program we're so gifted, because a lot of people kind of come and go, you never see them again. But to have like people like that you really look up to still want to be part of your program, that says a lot about the university. But it also says a lot about Don Coryell, by the way. Don't overlook or underestimate Don Coryell. He is a really good relationship person. He's very thoughtful. He works really, really hard. He's great at thinking about how we can make this place better. We have limited resources like everybody else. We're not one of those Autonomy 5 schools that has unlimited budgets. So he's having to, rub nickels together and try to turn them into quarters. But he's done something really good here, creating a different atmosphere in the athletics department as well.
Yeah, working with Don, it's an athletic director that you inherit coming in as a president, but it seems like you guys have a really good chemistry, very, very symbiotic working relationship. Do you feel that way when it is working with Don?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I actually met him when I was just attending the Sun Belt Conference meeting, because we actually, Arkansas State and Texas State were sitting at the same table. And President Trout was sitting 2 seats away from me, and Don was sitting next to me, and I was sitting next to him. And it was kind of a loud table, so I couldn't really talk across the table very much. So I ended up talking to him the whole time. And I left there thinking, man, what a great guy that guy is. And then turns out we actually have a friend in common. She's a faculty member at University of Oklahoma. She was a mascot at Lamar when Donnie and Marcy were there. And so she said, hey, there's this great guy you need to meet. I said, I just had dinner with him just the other night. And so we got to know each other. Then Texas State came up to Jonesboro for a football game. And we've got a pretty nice little setup up there for visiting teams. I went up there and interacted with him during the football game. And he had a lot of his alumni and donors were there at the game. And I walked away from that meeting saying, hey, that guy's really got a great personality. And those donors really seem to like him a lot. And so I kind of knew him a little bit already. And so of all the cabinet members that I know, he's the one I kind of had a head start with. And then now he's someone I never underestimated, because I thought a lot about him going in. And when I came here, Donnie is what you see. If you think that Don Coryell is an honest guy that works really hard, who's passionate about his student athletes and about success, then you got him figured out, because that's who he is. No one cares more about winning and losing, and no one hurts more when we lose and celebrates more when we win. He's got a young family, but they're all in as well. He attends every event he can, and when he can, he brings his kids along. And Marcy's very involved as well. He and my wife are out promoting with Summer Kinney the bubbles and football thing they're going to do for female fans to come out to the football program this summer. So Marcy's all in, their kids are all in, and Don is really good. I inherited him, but I'm happy to have done so. And what I love about him is that he's kind of, in some ways, kind of a quiet guy, but he has a lot of great ideas, and he's kind of conspiratorial sometimes. He's like, what we ought to do? We ought to get you to ride the motorcycle out at the first game. I said, nah, you don't want to do that. He said, oh, I think the fans would love it. Well, turns out that was brilliant. Like, I've got this button that somebody made up here with a picture of me riding a motorcycle. It's like I never would have thought of that. And he said, I think that would really go over really well. And so he's a great idea guy. He's always trying to see around the corner. And we're lucky to have him. The coaches look up to him a lot. Another story about him going into his office one day when I was just visiting him and trying to see some of the facilities. And he had a bunch of pictures of students on his computer, and above his computer on the credenza. And I thought maybe they're like special students that he had known over the years. And he said, no, I'm trying to memorize the names of all our student athletes. So when I see them, I don't just say, hey guy, hey buddy, how's it going? He actually would know their name. And I thought, there are not a whole lot of athletics directors that care enough to actually know the names of their student athletes. And they know that. They sense how much he cares about them. And that goes a long way with young people nowadays. There's an old saying, people don't care about how much you know, they care about how much you care. And I think they understand that he cares about them. Being a former student athlete at a program similar to this, being a professional athlete as well, he gets what they're going through, empathizes with them, and does everything he can to make them be successful.
And he fits in really well with what you were talking about, the question before about former coaches being still around and everything. That there's a community here that you can't really see on the surface level that is very deep. And, Don, he's been here a long time, so he understands that. And so to see it kind of his transition and trajectory to becoming athletic director has been really cool to see. And it's great to see that he's in a great place and a great relationship with you as the president. It seems like you guys are working really well together. So that's fantastic.
It's funny. You have to have, and I learned this from a former head football coach that I got to know really well, who told me that he's been at universities where the president and the AD and the head coach weren't in alignment, and how problematic that can be. You have to be aligned, especially the AD and the president have to be aligned. And luckily, Don has a lot of respect on the cabinet as well. So when he's trying to do something, he needs to make sure the finance office knows what's happening there, in the budget office. And when we got issues with academics, he works well with our provost and student affairs, trying to get the student section to come out. He and I made a tour this fall, going to every fraternity house and sorority house that would have us. We go there and talk about, hey, we need you guys to come out to the game, get you involved as well. I think there had been kind of some anxiety about Greek life in general. It's a nationwide problem, but there's a lot of benefit associated with Greek life. And if we can get them re-engaged with the university, the life of the university, and re-engage with athletics, not to co-opt them, but to give them an avenue to celebrate, what it's like to be a college student at a great university, and to incorporate what they like to do with what we want to do. I think that's a win-win. So he and I went around and met with guys, and he shot hoops with a couple of fraternity guys we met up with, but he's really good with those groups as well. So, and he can talk to $1 million donor and someone who's the parking lot attendant. I mean, he is just an honest, sincere broker, and I couldn't be prouder to work with him.
Well, Dr. Damphousse, I am running out of time on the Zoom.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. This is great. Honestly, I was holding off for the 100th episode, but I want to have you back on. There's so much more I want to talk to you about.
Let's do 200.
Let's do 200. We'll do it before 200, but
okay.
Number 200, I'll have you back on.
Sounds good.
Thanks, you
Kev.
so
I
much.
appreciate it. I love your show, man. Thank you for supporting us, and thanks for everything you do to get the word out about